The Dolphins, of course, it happened to the Dolphins that the rule of their mismanagement of Tua and concussions that basically created a new rule where there's a spotter watching, and if you appear at all wobbly, you have to come out of the game. Teddy Bridgewater gets it was a safety, it was intentional grounding in the end zone, gets sacked, and the spotter said he appeared wobbly. He passed all the concussion protocol tests, but because they said he appeared wobbly getting up, that he had to sit out. Now this is, by the way, this is so classic NFL, because now every single coach is going to teach their players, just stay down for an extra second, get yourself together, and then stand up, or have one of your I bet you'll watch anytime a quarterback gets sacked now and it's a hard hit, there will be a lineman that goes and picks them up and holds them for a second. You know what I mean? So they can't wobble. They can't visibly wobble.
So I think that's what happened with Braxton Berrios, who scored on an end around, reached out. I think he landed on the football, but he took a knee and took some time to get up.
Yeah.
I think he was just. But people were thinking, was that because of this new rule?
It's going to happen.
Because he didn't want to get up and stumble a little bit and get taken out of the game.
Guys are going to definitely milk it. They're going to be taught to stay down for an extra beat so that they don't have any little bit of wobble, because the rule is supposed to be good in theory, but it makes no sense because you have a guy like Teddy Bridgewater who, he didn't get hit that hard, and if he passed all the concussion protocols, but the one arbitrary person sitting upstairs is he kind of wobbled a little bit.
I didn't see the replay, so I can't say whether or not he did actually wobble.
I couldn't find the wobble,
but people
were demanding the wobble.
Yeah, so
they were tweet the wobble.
What happens is the NFL is kind of like TSA, where they retroactively adapt things to a rule that was probably pretty blatantly obvious, something that they should have covered beforehand. But until someone figures out how to exploit a loophole, they don't actually change anything.
Shoes off.
Until now it's
a guy brings a shoe and is a bomb in his shoe.
One guy named Richard Reed wore a shoe bomb on a plane, and now we have to fly barefoot for the rest of our lives.
Right.
And that's what's happening right now with the NFL, where it's we're going to give you a word that you have to learn now, which is motor ataxia or something like that. I think it's the word ataxia.
Yeah.
Is one I've seen going around a lot. It just basically means if you're fucked up, you can't go back in the game.
Right.
Which I think is a good rule to have, right?
But
if somebody is wobbling on their feet, they very clearly just sustained a brain injury, they probably shouldn't go back in the game that day.
Correct.
Now, will they want to go back in the game that day? Absolutely they will, because they're football players. And like we said with Tua, it means a lot. He doesn't want to miss time. He's having a great year. He could make himself a shitload of money. He also probably wants to be out there for his teammates and help them win a game, because he loves his teammates and he wants to play football.
But
you have to protect him against ourselves. But now we've reached a point where we've got 6 guys huddled around the television, trying to see if somebody's wobbly or not. And I don't know what the solution is to all this, outside of, I think somebody was suggesting putting the micro. It's always a microchips.
Yeah, microchips save everything.
That's the solution to everything. It's was that ball, did it cross the goal line? Put a microchip in it. First down, microchip in it. Is that blood coming out of Daniel Jones's hand? Put a microchip on every player's wrist in case they bleed too much. Is a player sustained brain damaging head collisions? Put a microchip in the helmet where they can measure what the impact is. That's really the only other possible way. But then at that point, if you go down that road, it's not every single person's brain is built the same way, and their skulls are different, that whole thing. So just because somebody suffers a brain injury at a certain collision rate doesn't mean the other person's going to. Basically what I'm saying is there's a long way of saying there's no way to do it. There's really no way to do it and do it correctly, but I think at some point they'll do the microchip version.
This is what we were talking about with Jeff Bezos. They need to develop that brain scanner that can tell if your brain's inflamed. I think that's the only way they're going to be able to do it.
The problem with the wobble test is if I had a spotter, I sat on the toilet for too long when I was taking a shit this morning. I wobbled when I got up. You know what I mean? My legs were a little, they were a little dead. I would have been in the concussion protocol. You sit on the couch for a little too long, I'm wobbly when I get up. Yeah. So there's a lot of wobbles.
There are other reasons.
I wobble a lot.
Mike McDaniel probably wobbles sometimes too on the side.
Yes, right. So there's the arbitrary nature of it, and if Teddy, it didn't seem like that violent of a hit, and then you lose him for the game.